Hello, everyone. Nytmare here, and this is Whale FM's Fireside Chat with Artists. In this show, we talk about everything and anything art and crypto in the NFT scene with designers and creators alike, otherwise known as non-fungible tokens. My guest today is Alexander Demidov, an artist, photographer, and designer for over 17 years, the founder of Access Photo, and an artist releasing his own NFTs now as well. Alexander, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you guys for having me so much. It's such a privilege and a pleasure to be here. I'm extremely humbled and flattered that you would have me speak.
Well, thank you for coming on. You have quite the story, so I've been told. So very interested to get started. And before we talk, specifically to some of your different projects and art, can you please walk us through a little bit about, who you are and your background?
Sure. So I'm Russian American. I'm the first in my family to have been born in the U.S. My father worked for the United Nations. He was actually invited by the United Nations to work there, so he wasn't technically an immigrant. He entered in through something called the G4 visa, and he worked there his entire life. He commuted 3 hours every single day to be able to support us and to give us opportunity to be who we wanted to be. My older brother, me and him had an 11 and a half year age difference. So as far as I can remember from childhood, I was always being influenced by wearing a set of headphones, listening to things like Depeche Mode and Nine Inch Nails and all these other things. My brother would leave these little breadcrumbs around me for me to find and explore. And he had a magical way of getting you to feel like it was your idea. Mentorship through leadership was his philosophy. Compassion through patience, trust through difficulty. Those were his philosophies, and I grew up, not necessarily well off, but we had everything we needed. When the time came, my father made sure a camera was around me at all times for me to be able to pursue that passion. I picked up photography in high school. I had an incredible teacher that was willing to go the extra mile to show you the real concepts and the real fundamentals around photography, and that always stuck with me. It was always something I wanted to do, but I ended up going to school for computer science, and in the third year, I struggled with it so much. Not to say I hated it, but I understood what it took to be a coder, and I wanted to learn their language so that I could understand it and I could converse in it, but not necessarily spend my time doing it. So I dropped out, and my brother and I started a company called Pixel System, which is a design firm that we've been running and that I've been running for the past 17 years, completely independent. We've had clients all over the world. We've designed products, we've designed packaging for products, we've designed full-blown brands that have taken off and skyrocketed. And that was our passion, was how do we use our collaborative efforts in order to create something that would make a company last longer, that would make it more attractive, that would make it survive certain things that are just unsurvivable in this market. So for example, we had one of our first products ever was something called Nirvana water. If you go to nirvanawater.com, don't look at their current bottles. Somebody else designed those, but we were asked with the task to recreate the bottles that they had and do their labels and do their trucks and their brandings and their product photography. Yeah, that's crap. It's not us. Yeah, the other bottles are us. So we did that for them, and it was exciting, and it was lucrative. It was enough for us to stay afloat. And one day, Nestle came in and squashed these guys like a sack of potatoes. It was awful. You hear it in the news, but you haven't really heard the real stories. So Nestle came in and tried to acquire Nirvana water. Once the path progressed to the discovery phase, where they saw their financials, they used that against them and went to the stores that they were in, the independent stores and the chains, with duffel bags full of cash to get them to not sell Nirvana water. And it worked. They went bankrupt. They were liquidated. A liquidation firm came up and resurrected their brand. But in the interim of that, We created a high-end water bottle for them because they wanted to attack Fiji water and Voss and all these nightclub waters. So we developed a 1 liter concept, and the brand that we created for them is an attestament to how ancient the aquifers are from where this water comes to the surface naturally. And you can determine that based on its temperature and its delta in its temperature year round. So 42 degrees Fahrenheit, rock solid, this water comes out of the ground. It's absolutely amazing. It's literally a gold mine. So that in Celsius is close to 6 degrees. We created a product called 6 degrees water. Next generation of liquid bliss. You can do a Google image search. It'll still pop up. We launched it in one club, and then they got crushed. It's the first image there. That's the bottle that my brother and I designed from the ground up. We sketched this over 6 months on napkins and pieces of toilet paper and collaborated and worked together. The first bottle we did for Nirvana was a co-development with their existing firm in Canada. So this was our baby. This is what we created, and it was supposed to be a 1 liter substrate. The prototypes were not structurally integral enough to be able to sell and package and ship. So we created a 1/2 liter bottle version of it. To my knowledge, I possess the last bottles made. And they've all since been destroyed by the liquidation company. I have a few cases left of these, and I want to do something really special once you hear the second side of the coin of this. I was dating a girl for 4 years that was living with me at the time, and I found out she was cheating on me. I broke up with her in a very abrupt manner. I had my friend drive all her things, including her mother's ashes, to two hours away to her parents' house. Now, I felt massive regret over this, even though I still never spoke to her again. And I know this seems a little off topic, but I got her father a job at Nirvana, and he entered in as the director of sales and marketing. And within the first few months, they started creating resistance between us and the company as they were being squozen, so to speak. So shortly after, he was actually fired for embezzling funds, for modifying his expense sheets with fictional numbers. But the next thing that he did is going to blow your mind. And I firmly believe this is one of the best cases of art theft in modern day history. I'd love for you to go to Google right now and search for something called 6 degree tequila. And go to the Google images search.
Wow.
And tell me what you're seeing. Especially the one on the bottom left there with the glass and everything. Does that look familiar?
Yeah, that's your bottle right there.
That's literally our work. From the ground up, just with tequila in it, with a slightly different label, and leave off the last S like you're calling 1-800 mattresses. You understand what I'm saying? Like, how could this be possible? It tormented us to our core that this was happening. And nobody wanted to do anything because we couldn't do anything. The patent is in the name of the father of the company of Nirvana, who has recently passed away. And
Wow.
and I know there's complicated ways of doing that, but we haven't found a firm that could take us on to take this to action. So we let it run, and it just burned us and burned us and burned us as we saw this all over Facebook and winning awards all over the world and all these things. Now, 2 days before I joined Clubhouse on February 13th. Thanks to my friend Nick, who's an amazing artist called Stretta for you. I will talk about amazing artists later. But 2 days before, the son of the company of Nirvana, Daria, who's working with me on Access Photos, sends me a text to a news article. Could you please go to Google and type in Warwick, WARWICK, space liquor, space investor, and then go to the justice.gov link, the second one down. Liquor entrepreneur arrested for defrauding investors. Joseph Chimino allegedly raised nearly $1 million in investor funds for his startup tequila company by lying about the company's finances, and then spent a significant portion of that money to finance his own lifestyle. That's pure evil. That's pure evil, and it catches up to you guys, which is why it's so fundamentally important for you to believe in the projects that literally have communities behind them of real people that can have real open discussions and talk openly about concepts and about having their art stolen, because this isn't the first time. The other times just didn't hurt as bad. To be able to look back on some level of justice that my brother is not here anymore. He died in October, and it took a few months, but it worked out. Everything that he wanted happened, and we didn't have to lift a finger. This person can't hurt anybody anymore, which is why I think it's our responsibility, as if you are considered a leader in these communities and you speak a lot, you have to make sure every single thing you do, every single thing you decide to do, is aligned with your moral fundamentals, because crypto is insane right now, and we're going to see another retracement before Bitcoin's halving and next halving in the spring of 2024. And I want people to be prepared for it, because some of these people are coming in half-cocked with one foot in the door, and they're still looking at fiat value every single day for all of their things, their art, their listings. It doesn't matter what it is, but if you have that mindset, you're going to get burned at some point, and then you're going to turn around and blame the people around you, and that's going to bring everything down, and I don't want that to happen. So my primary goal is to make sure that information is free. Information should be free. Collaboration costs nothing. And from my experience with my brother, things that I went through and the projects that we worked on together, they were always a collaboration. It was always a phone call. Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Let's just bounce ideas off each other. And these things are happening to me in the community right now. And I haven't been able to speak about my brother's death since he died, because I didn't have any friends. I didn't have any friends left. Everybody abandoned me. Everybody called me a drug addict, because I'm going to be 2 years sober from alcohol in June. And my mind at 3 months into it started exploding like crazy. My whole body would vibrate with ideas, and I would scare people around me. It wasn't fair. I just wanted to share my ideas. I just wanted to share my passion about things with people, and they all ran away. They all ran away. I lost my fiance a few years ago. She just straight up left me one day, and I don't blame her. I still love her, and I still hope she's doing well. But every day since then, I started drinking. Every single day. And then I started abusing ADHD medication. I was prescribed Adderall for a little while, and that was whatever. And then I got prescribed Vyvanse. And that shit is lethal, guys. Lethal. I'm sure it helps people, but if you do that shit for a year straight, it's going to take some time for you to bounce back. You're going to feel really unmotivated for a long time, like I did. You can go look at my lack of Instagram posts. I didn't care. I didn't care enough about myself. I didn't feel confident in myself to post anything. But now it's a weapon. I have years of content nobody's ever seen that's going to be dribbling out on Foundation today. I'm posting black and white images, and I'm doing unlockables of the colors. So only the collector gets to see the colored image, which is 10 times better than the black and white. And it's just a little mystery, just a little treat for people. There's so many ways for us to engage with one another in a collaborative sense that I'm so excited to be in this space. The amount of artists that have reached out, the amount of phone calls I've had one-on-one, the amount of people that have thanked me for speaking about something difficult, it's been tremendous. It's been absolutely tremendous. And I really don't think I would probably would be alive right now if it wasn't for Clubhouse, because of how deep everything, cuts.
Well, Alex, I dropped out there for a couple of minutes, but thank you so much for sharing that and making yourself vulnerable. I think it's something very important for a lot of our community to hear, because not only are we flush with collectors and people interested in the scene, but a lot of people come to Whale as kind of their starting point on their journey into NFTs and into art. And this is something that's plagued legacy art long before NFTs we're even here, and it's not talked about enough. So applause to you for having the courage to share, and again, for making yourself vulnerable for us.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. My story didn't, my story didn't stop there. I decided at some point, once my brain felt like it was being rewired again through my sobriety, I decided to cut and run. I literally said to myself, okay, if I ever wanted to consider myself a celebrity or somebody famous that could help in the world, how would I do that? Would it happen incrementally, or would I just decide one day that I'm going to do what I love, no matter what the cost? But the cost was great. The cost was great. When I decided to drop everything and delegate my design firm to my colleagues, and become a photographer, I dropped everything, and it was under the guise of what I saw in Miami at Art Basel. I went to Art Basel 2019 as an invitation with a client of mine, and I saw the circus that was there and the monopoly money that was running down the streets, and I thought it was real life. So beyond having proposed to my fiance in Miami, I decided Miami would be my new home just based on the fact of the experience I had at Art Basel. So I dropped everything after living in Brooklyn for a while, after my best friend had convinced my parents and my brother that I was a drug addict, using situations out of context collected over many years against me when I lived comfortably in a home that housed other friends. I would rent out rooms with the landlord to get my friends to live in this place that I could afford because of the great things I was doing behind the scenes. 17 years I've been grinding away at this, and nobody's ever seen my work because it's all been private clients. It's all been private clients. I developed GUIs and interfaces and graphics for BMI systems and HVAC systems and Crestron and Lutron and all these things that all the wealthy people have. So I've always been surrounded by a wide gamut of types of people. I know what the philosophy of the real collector is. It's wanting your car with you, even though it's stored halfway across the country. That's something we're going to do with Dynamic Auto Art. That's another brand I have that's going to be working officially with companies like McLaren and Porsche to authorize NFTs directly from them, coming soon after Access Photo, probably in the fall. It used to be a wrap shop that I started. That gave me the opportunity to know that industry inside and out and what people like, and I love working with colors and so on and so forth. When I left to Miami, my friend gathered around a circle of 28 people to individually contact my brother on LinkedIn to tell them a story from the last 10 years of when they saw me blackout drunk doing something stupid. And that entire social circle turned their back on me as I left for Miami and made a mockery of me, recording everything I put on Instagram as if it was real life. And not a single one of those people reached out to me, especially the best friend, through the entire process. He made this entire thing about how he was helping me by getting to the root of my issues without ever calling me and asking me, are you okay? Are you okay? What's going on? So the situation I found myself in Miami when I moved down there, the person that invited me to live with them organized an assault on me the first night that I was there. My identification was stolen from me, my credit cards, my debit card, and except for the cash I had in my boot at the time. And the thing they don't tell you is that hotels in Miami don't take cash, no matter how much you have. It's all credit card for the incidentals and whatever. So I found myself in a strange new city all by myself with luggage and nowhere to go. Airbnb wouldn't pick up. So I made my way through Miami and just walked until the sun came up, until I could figure out my next move. And that's how I operated every single day. And I lost everything that I had, little by little. At some point, I became homeless by choice, bouncing between Airbnb and sleeping on the beach in the nights in between to reconnect with my soul. I made friends with the busboys at a very prominent hotel, and they allowed me to store my luggage there for 2 months for free because they understood what I was doing and what I was working for. I told everyone that all I wanted to do was be the best photographer in the world, if only for a minute. That's all I wanted. I wanted people to take me seriously, and nobody did. Because if you walk around with a bag in Miami, you're automatically homeless. It doesn't matter what kind of shoes you're wearing or what you speak or what your dreams are. And through my process of getting to the bottom, getting to the floor, finding myself in those situations, the real thing that I learned was that the people that don't have anything are the kindest, most giving people in the world. Because they know the pain that they see in your eyes is real, because they feel it every single day. I would ask you, what is the difference between asking for $20 and $20 million? There isn't one. It's actually harder to ask for less money. It's the same exact fear. It's the same exact anxiety. It's the same exact anticipation of embarrassment that happens. And these people on the street that have mental health issues or may be disconnected from their families like I was, that's all they need is one person to believe in them. one person to care, one person to recognize their pain and their truth. And it only happens from the heart if you've been there. Before I left to Miami, I blocked my own brother. It was too much. He was still drinking, and I couldn't take anything negative around me. I had to be selfish. And I didn't speak with him until I came back from Miami. I missed out on 2 months with my brother. I probably helped dig his grave with the stress I put him through and the stress my friends put him through. And now everything we've ever wanted is happening, and he's not here. We always said we could just keep trying. If we just kept trying, if we just kept doing projects, if we just did 10,000 projects, one of them should work. One of them has to work. My brother was a VP of internet for the North Jersey Media Group in Bergen County. They ran the Herald and the Record, and there's a bunch of other newspapers and stuff like that. And he was the youngest VP. He worked on a project called Toxic Legacy, which was about the poisoning of water in New Jersey and New York that was going undocumented for years. And he created an interface for it, and it won an award just because of how he imagined the story on a website. That's how brilliant he was. He built his own Flash games. He was the biggest Flash wizard ever. And now that's dead too. What a world. What a world. But USA Today 3 years ago came in and bought out all the newspapers. They said, screw you guys. We just want to be AOL. We want to be Facebook. And then the stories started dying, and everybody got laid off. And my brother died without a job, without a penny to his name. Man, I couldn't help him. All of our stuff dried up with COVID too. I was trying to be a DJ photographer and a street photographer right before COVID. I had no chance of success. But the fact that I gave up one day and called my parents to fly me back home, I still consider that a huge failure. But the only way I can rationalize what I did to my own brother and the regret that I have, even though we got to make up, we had enough time, was maybe time isn't a straight line. Maybe it's a circle. Maybe me losing him, me forcing him out of my life, was a way of preparing for not being with him. Because when I found myself alone with my camera stolen from me and my phone stolen from me, alone on the beach, waking up by myself, looking at the sun over the ocean, I couldn't have been happier. Because I knew I finally lost everything. I finally had nobody to count on but myself. And I was happy because I said yes to myself in that moment. I said yes, no matter what, if you can still walk, you're gonna live. You're gonna make it. When I came home, I started losing vision in one eye. I thought it was from stress, and I thought it was from everything I was going through and not having anyone in my life. But it turns out I was diabetic, and I didn't know it. Because I had been feeding myself off of sugar water, which helped my ADHD. Sugar is a very, very good thing. If you have ADHD, it allows you to focus a little bit. It's like a little natural version of these medications they shove down your throat. But I've had to deal with that, and it's been pretty difficult because that kind of stuff is really, the advanced stuff, the real-time monitoring stuff. The technology is going to get better, but that's going to be a huge focus of my philanthropy as well, because you guys don't know how bad it can be. You could be skinny with a six-pack like me and look fine, but you're not. You're not. Any sway of the day, you could be just completely wiped out and have no energy to do anything. So the platforms that I'm building were born in Access Photo was born in 2003. If you go look at the Whois, it's a domain I registered 10 days before my birthday, and it's never changed hands. If you guys want a story of diamond hands, When tendies, right? When tendies. Um, we started with a platform for photographers back in 2003 while I was still in school. It was a discussion forum like VBolt, and it was actually based on the Honda Tech engine. They had something else, I forget what it's called, if people remember that forum. And the most popular part of it were the contests that we had. Yeah, you can see the old tweets. Oh my god, I kept some of them up. That's amazing. That was the special part of it was the contest system. So I was thinking, how do we create something for every photographer in the space that would have a foundation that we could all build on together and all believe in. So how do we how do we mess up the algorithm? How do we turn it on its head? Well, I devised a system of obfuscation. So imagine every week we have a contest going in every single category of photography. So landscape, automotive, portrait, all of that stuff. We've got curated judges already preset on those panels that are the best in their fields. They have upvotes, and the community has upvotes, much like Reddit. The judges would have weighted upvotes, so they can kind of push things along a little bit. Once the top 3 in each category are decided, first of all, it's all nameless. Nobody knows who posts what. You just see the pictures and the number of upvotes. That's it. Nothing. The auction block would also be nameless. You would have 3 items come up for bid at the end of the weekend. It would be the drop for automotive and portrait and this and that. And then you would have everyone bid on it. But you wouldn't know whether you're bidding on a Banksy piece of photography, right? If you got into that, or he or she. Or somebody else that just picked up a camera, at the age of 14, just got a new iPhone. Everybody has a chance because it's going to be about the content, not the equipment, not the followers, none of that stuff.
You're talking about the legacy site that you originally built, right?
Well, no. I'm talking about what we're building now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It would be photography for NFTs, an auction system like we've seen on other platforms, but decided by the community. And the community judges. So you would have an nameless auction system where you would vote on these, and then once the bids were successful and it sold, then you would find out who created the photograph, and that would go into the Access Photo feed. That would be a global feed of all of the winners. And we're also launching a curated section on the high end, because we have estate managers coming to us with archives of footage and photographs of dead celebrities that are historically important. We also want to offer the curated white glove service for them as well, for the collectors. So essentially, we're building a platform that's a bridge between the collectors and the super valuable assets that are in the world, and the assets that are valuable to you, the first pictures you take on your phone or your camera. So it's going to be a platform that supports both of those avenues and connects them together.
Super cool. We have a ton of photographers, especially recently with the discussions on Clubhouse, coming in and really looking at how they could leverage their portfolios and take part in this. So if you don't mind, I had a few questions for you, because I just think this is such a great idea, and it's going to be such a boon to these people that are really looking for direction. I see that this is kind of like the phoenix that rose from the ashes from your original concept, right, that you had back in the early 2000s. And looking at it, it looks like it's kind of a cohesive app. So is this going to aid in the creation of the NFTs as well, in addition to being a curation and a place where people can purchase them?
Yeah, so from our research, our competitors are rushing to do a stock photography website. We don't want to do that. I mean, our brand will support that in the future, possibly under another brand using our technology, but our goal is to create a gamified auction, weekly drop, and weekly submission process to start stimulating and invigorating these photographers that are sitting there idling, scratching their head about what to do because nothing exists for them yet. We want to be that niche that everybody wants to go to see what the latest drops are, what the latest contests are. Maybe we have themes for particular categories. And then also we have, along with our launch, we're going to do an invite-only launch for the first few weeks, similar to the Clubhouse model, just to build everything up, battle test everything even further, because on the mainnet things change pretty rapidly compared to doing stuff on the testnet. We're going to be launching simultaneously in galleries all over the world as well. So we have a gallery in Berlin and a gallery in Boulder, and potentially we're working on right now a gallery in Miami that would simultaneously launch the auctions that we have every weekend across the world with digital displays, both in the physical world and then mocked up and replicated in the metaverse as well, connecting all the galleries that are in person doing the drops with little corridors that you can walk through, or little teleportation stations or whatever. So we can attract the audience of the real life buyers, the real life collectors that still want to go out there and see something in real life, because seeing a photograph projected on the side of a wall can be a masterpiece depending on your perspective. You just can't really do that with the print. But yeah, we're going to be entering the space in a very, very big way with a lot of different ideas. We're also working on our own displays with a vendor of ours that creates displays specifically from the ground up for super slim profiles, like smaller than an iPhone with no bezel, not a TV that's been converted to a display for NFTs, not a monitor screen that's been converted and just turned over sideways, but super low profile displays that you can scatter around and it'll automatically determine all the paddings and margins between images, and you can just send your NFTs right from your phone. And as well as other images and video as well. That's going to be a big product as well.
Well, it sounds like a powerful ecosystem you're building, and I can see why you've labeled it here the Spotify of photography. You also talk about having flexibility in the minting process. So my understanding, I guess, is that this app will also help photographers mint and simplify the process for them. Is that correct?
Yeah, of course. One of the biggest questions we're having now is how do you work on collaborations? And how do you clearly outline what's going to be donated to who if you're working with agency, philanthropic efforts, which we will be as well. So you have a revenue slider basically on all these platforms for your kickback on your artwork, and what we're baking into the smart contract and the platform is a similar type of slider to be able to put in another wallet for the other person you're working with, for example, as well as any philanthropy efforts. We're still exploring exactly how to do that because most organizations aren't taking Ethereum, but we want to do like a welcome box that sets people up. The other idea I have is to have a fund set up. I've mentioned it in the chats on Clubhouse if anybody's heard it, but I want to get a fund going for everybody to be able to donate their old phones, their old iPhones, and we team up with a carrier like Cricket Wireless, that's on a subsidiary of AT&T, so they have great network coverage and great speeds, along with a little power bank or something to power things, maybe a toothbrush, maybe some hygiene stuff, and make a little package, and then go give it out to people that need it. Because the gatekeeping is already happening, and it's through our complacency by not being really vigilant on the outreach right now for the people that really have a difficult time getting by, just surviving day to day. Because I know how that feels. I know what it feels like not having access to the money that that you have, and then having to live that life because you're too stubborn to give up. But it's only through that pain that you can find yourself. It's only through the opposite side of fear that you're ever going to find your imaginations is coming closer to reality. And that's what we're seeing in the NFT space right now, right? It's not about the money. It's not about the headlines. It's not about what's going on in the news and all that. It's about what you see actually going on in the groups on Clubhouse and Discord as well. It's peer-to-peer empathy. It's peer-to-peer love. We're decentralizing fear. It's something we can systematically attack as long as you have guidance, as long as you have real stories to connect with, as long as you have people in your life that are willing to be super honest with you. That's very important, to have a network of people that are willing to fact check you and figure things out with you, because that's how we're really going to build something great that companies like Apple and Google just aren't going to be able to compete with, because they don't have the community. It didn't start with them. It started with me jumping into one of these NFTs.tips rooms. Shout out to Alexander, the other Alexander, who I got to meet in real life and had a very similar story to mine, where we were at the bottom, and we know what that felt like. And that's I think that's kind of integral to true leadership, is being able to see things from many different perspectives at once, because we shouldn't discredit even the galleries right now. The galleries that have been raping us, essentially. Artists, we still need to be inclusive of their ideas as well, because there could be a future in which they actually serve a purpose instead of shutting them out. We don't have to put them out of business. We have to work together with them. They're going to make less money and they're going to be coming to us, but there's a way for us to network and get them into the space. Much like we need to have representation of women in the space, people of color, the LGBTQ, whatever, everything, the whole 9 yards. We gotta make sure everybody's on board, because the sharks that are coming into this space, they haven't even begun to smell the blood yet. They're just circling. They're waiting for a story of theft to jump on, to shake things loose, and I don't want that to happen. My brother
Go ahead.
Sorry, my brother and I developed a blockchain project on our own based on an idea that I had. I looked at the $1 million pixel project back in the 90s, where you could sell one pixel for $1 and raise $1 million, and it worked. It sold out in a few weeks, and most of it was donated to charity. My brother and I had a similar idea of virtual advertising space, and we spent 8 months and $40,000 building a project that failed. It failed because we launched it when Ethereum was $110, and nobody cared, and there was no community. And no matter how great the idea was, and how much math we did, and how much we fought over certain concepts, and how much we decided to donate to philanthropy right out of the gate, which was 50%, which is also what I'm doing with Access Photo. All net proceeds, all net profits are going to go 50% to verified, authenticated, and vetted charities that we go set up their wallet for them. We convert half of the fiat, half of it goes into trust that they can't touch for a year. That's how we build communities. That's how we bring mass adoption into the space. But the project was a series of 32 by 32 pixel blocks that you could buy, and you could put any artwork that you wanted to put on it. It's kind of like Superworld, except not fake, because theirs doesn't even work. You can't even put a picture on it. It's just the Google Maps API, and they're printing money out of thin air, and we couldn't even raise one Ethereum in sales.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was a system so complex and so vast that gamified an NFT space before NFTs were really ever a thing, at least in my knowledge. We created 32 by 32 blocks that you could visually drag and drop and select on the screen and pick how many blocks you wanted to buy, and then go connect it to your MetaMask exactly the way it is now, except this happened in 2018. And you could buy those spaces and upload your artwork, and we had a QA centralized system for us to approve the artwork, so there was no pornography or anything weird. And then you would own that space. And then there were two spaces in the 16 by 9. So there was the middle space that was worth more, a little rectangle, and then a bigger rectangle around it. Once your section of real estate around you sold out, it began phase 2, where somebody else could come in and buy out your advertising space if they had a message that they wanted to promote over yours. And you would get part of that back out of the profit of the system, because everything would go up in value. Now you're saying, oh, wait, that kind of sounds like a security, right? But it's not, because we're literally selling advertising space. If Nike wanted to come in, they could buy the entire full block out for $1 million for their Super Bowl ad. And guess what would happen after that? Everybody could go back in and buy more and deface Nike's ad and put whatever else they wanted to put on. It was a decentralized, we thought of it as like a decentralized way of freedom of expression. That's what we wanted to create. And it didn't work. And now the files and everything associated with the project are locked up in a computer that I am not allowed to access, because according to my brother's wife, I'm no longer allowed to see my nephews because I'm a drug addict and I need help.
Wow.
So where there's a will, there's a way. I just repurchased the domain. It was being squatted. So I might do that under Pixel System, which is actually very fitting, or it might be the project that it was. It was called The Big IO. We were going to change the world with an idea that we poured our hearts and souls into, and it still didn't work, which is why I know what I'm building in this community right now. And it's not about money. It's about building something that we make sure works. We make sure it lasts, that helps other people fundamentally, and doesn't serve you any advertisements ever. Go look at Instagram right now. Do you really want to scroll other people's stories to get an ad about steak or grills or something every 4 seconds? It's impossible. It's information overload. And their algorithms are super trained computers on our brains to try and figure out what we want to buy. I don't want to buy anything anymore in my life. I want to invest in other people's art. I want to invest in artists. I want to create art. I want to do that all day long. I want to take pictures all day long. The first thing that I minted on Foundation is called Resiliart. This is a movement that I'm starting with one of my closest friends. I met this friend, the night that I blocked my brother, and he was taking me to the airport. He was my Lyft driver, actually, and he instantly became a brotherly figure in my life. And he's recently gone through some horrible things in his life with the mother of his child and restraining orders and all these things, and he's trying to turn his life around. So we want to change the world together. We want to travel the world and talk to people and give and give and give, starting with the people that gave to me, whose faces I still remember. Imagine surviving all of the Miami nightclub scenes and nightlife scene and all the clubs and the DJs and the cars being completely sober. That was my life, while my entire group of friends laughed at me and sent me text messages saying, "It's so happy to see you on your downward spiral." It was so horrifying, and I didn't want to come home because I knew I would have nobody here, and that was the truth. Nobody called me after I came home. Not a single person. And then my brother died, and nobody called. But now I have Clubhouse and you guys, and I can sit here and make, no longer in silence, no longer under the gun, no longer under anyone's idea of what I should make or create or be. It's like you've suppressed yourself for so long, and you've just committed to the idea that you're just gonna have to beg forever. Every contract, every deal, every handshake, every client meeting, every call. I'm so used to begging that I started doing it on the street. I would beg people to follow me on Instagram. It was the most embarrassing shit I've ever done. But I did it because that's all that mattered. I just wanted people to notice me. I just wanted them to see that I had the potential so that they could motivate me in return, and I could motivate them. And now this is happening organically. Excuse me, that's happening organically. Through technology finally catching up to our dreams and our aspirations. It's finally happening, but with great power comes great responsibility, right? We need to watch out for each other. We need to hold each other accountable, and we need to call the bullshit out when we see it. Well, I'm not perfect at all. I've screwed many people over in my life. There's things I haven't finished from years ago, and all I want is the opportunity to finish them on my own free will, to be able to give back to the people that believed in me back then, even though they don't believe in me now. It doesn't matter to me. They still invested in me. They just didn't see a return anymore. It's time. It's time for all of us to forgive each other and to move forward. Because I have to forgive myself for what happened with my brother. One of the last things he said to my mother, because when your liver fails, all of your toxins go straight to your brain, so you start hallucinating in and out. And it's a difficult thing to watch somebody else go through, but I'm sure it's just pure hell for the person, and you just want the pain to end. But I asked my brother what he wanted to do when he got out. I was really reluctant to tell him the truth about what was happening. So we came up with ideas of what we wanted to do, and one of the things he wanted to do was travel the world. and maybe in like an RV or something cool, you know, that's like designed for media production and all these kinds of things. And one day he after we talked about it, it was midnight. I had to go home. You could only be at the hospital between 12 and 8, and only one person at a time. In the middle of the night, I got to sign up to like an RV Camping World website. Out of the blue, on my email, he was studying it at night in the hospital while hallucinating and planning road trips with me. And that's what I want to do with Resiliart. That's what we want to do. We just want to travel the world, starting with the US, starting with Brooklyn, starting with Miami, and to show people what NFTs are really all about. How we can create on the road, how we can show people how to get access to a phone, how to get on these markets, how to get a Clubhouse invitation. It has to start somewhere, so why not us? Because this friend of mine called me the other day, not knowing anything. And he said we should get a camper and go on a road trip.
Wow.
That's all I ever wanted to do, was just be able to live like a bird. That's what I wanted to do in Miami. Just travel with a laptop and a camera. And it wouldn't matter if you're on the beach. Oh, don't bring your laptop to the beach, by the way. But it wouldn't matter if you were on, you know, doing something in a cafe or in a high rise. You know, I would love to see a world as colorful as Wynwood. Everybody should go there. But not just Wynwood and the Wynwood walls. The areas around it. Like Little Haiti. Like Hialeah. Like all of these culturally diverse, frowned upon neighborhoods that are just so beautiful and so intricate with the culture and the people. There's so much love there. That's why we want to start there after Brooklyn. And I already know the people that I'm going to give back from the proceeds of what I make. I know the difference it's going to make, but I need to document it so that you see it, so that TikTok sees this kind of shit, so that Instagram sees this. Instead of being scammed by people, giving them money and then having them buy your stuff or whatever, it's all transparent. It's all on the blockchain. You guys will see who we donate to and what wallets we give to and all of these things. So that's what that one image stands for, is that project. And an artist called Do What You Love, Sergey, was generous enough to make that literally overnight as a representation of our project and our fund. And the money from that is going to go to buy the things that we need in order to start the trip. Do what you love. I love the message, and I'm glad he's part of the project. And he's just one of the other artists that took a chance on me. And most of the art you're going to see today are going to be photographs and weird little things that I've created, little Easter eggs and stuff. And then all the collaborative content is going to come a little bit later, because I want to make sure that it's not rushed. Because I'm not in a rush. I know where I am, and I know what I've been waiting for, and I just want to give back. I've tried everything. Nothing feels as good as giving.
I think empathy and compassion a lot of times has to come from experience, and especially with art, that experience is really what gives a lot of value to it sometimes, because when you can evoke those emotions and put it into a vehicle to share it with other people, it encapsulates it and makes them feel. It's cathartic, it's therapeutic, it's all of these things, but that's what the best art is. So, you know, there's a lot of talk of all the things that you've overcome and are still overcoming, and that's what makes some of this so amazing and invaluable. And I'm sure people are going to flock to your work and your projects, because just as much as people look at the execution and the academic aspects of art, the artists themselves and their story and what they're about is a driving force. And you've got that in spades, my man. So I am sure that these projects of yours are going to be a success. And quite honestly, I think a lot of people in our community have said and will share with you, they may be at the beginning of a journey like this, or far beyond it. This has all helped galvanize you so that you are prepared at this point. And I'm sure your brother's with you in a lot of these endeavors, both in spirit and some of the foundation that he laid for what you're about to do. So I know you have a lot more to share, but I had to react to that because it was just so powerful that you shared that story, because we have artists all the time, and for whatever reason, you reference things that shaped you. You talk about what helped get you to where you are, but you literally poured your heart and soul out here for us. So on behalf of the community, thank you. And I know we've just gotten the tip of the iceberg.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for even letting me spew this on such a great community with so many other much smarter people that know what they're talking about. I try not to talk about things I don't know about. I try to listen when that happens. But what I do know is that sometimes I'll share with you guys something positive, because I know this is all kind of okay. Great, let's take a deep breath. Let's de-escalate, because I want to teach you some of the things while we have the time together that have really helped me, that have really monumentally improved my life. And it's all free because I believe in it, and it's what I did, and I hope it helps you. Study Jordan Peterson. Study his philosophy of dreaming big but aiming low. When my brother died, I couldn't imagine a world where I would wake up. I didn't want to die. I just didn't want to wake up. I wanted to forgo the mystery of each day, because I no longer believed in myself, because of how much regret I felt and how much misery I was in and how much pain my parents were in around me, and the thought of my nephews living without a father. Aim low means that all it takes for you to be a better person is that 1 inch every single day, whether that's waking up earlier, or being kinder to a stranger, or being more nuanced in the way that you approach difficult decisions with people or conversations with people when you know they're going to be triggered by something. It's reading the room. It's aiming low and making sure you can accomplish certain things in your life that can grow and manifest and snowball into bigger things that you can do with your life. Your brain and the things that you think about is like listening to the radio in a car. You jump off a plane and you get into your rental, and either you're listening to the song of the person before you, or you're turning it off, or you're putting on your own song. That's the same decision tree that happens in your brain. And you have the power to choose whether or not you think about something. I want you to soak that in. It's a simple complex, but it's actually very complex, because we think that we are a byproduct of our emotions and the things that happen to us. But in reality, we have complete control over what and who and how we react to things. And those are what define the moments in our life and the decisions that we make. As long as you keep choosing yourself and you believe in yourself first, you have to love yourself and believe in yourself first before anybody's ever going to do that. It's just not going to work. But you have to have enough belief in yourself to be able to just get through the day sometimes, and that's okay. That's okay. That's fine. Nobody's asking you to rush and go mint stuff and do all this crazy stuff. You don't have to do any of it. You can just chill and listen to other people and listen to music and do whatever you need to do for yourself. You have to be kind to yourself first. Until you do that, it's going to be very difficult for you to succeed or get anybody else's attention or love, for that matter. And then it's going to downward spiral into more self-loathing and hating yourself. So my goal after my brother died was just to want to wake up. That was cool, going through that, and that took a little while, but it happened. It happened because every day I woke up and cried, and I thought about what he would want. What would he do? He would be the rock, like he always was. Even when he had nothing, he was everyone's foundation around him. So that's why I want to build something like Access Photo, because I think it's time that something like that is on stage and create something that gives back to people and gives us a platform that we all want to use instead of waiting for the big players to come in and squash us all.
And between the philanthropic tie-in, which you've spoke about, and that's awesome. So many people that are involved in photography are just kind of trying to find their way. You know, they don't really understand how to get involved. So on so many fronts, you'll be a huge help. And normally we wait for questions for the end of the interview, but I want to be sure to ask this now because so many people are raising their hand and they're really compelled by your story, and they're asking, how can we support Alexander and his work right now? Is it to, be an advocate for Access Photo? Is it some of these NFTs that you're literally minting today, right? You're minting some and putting some up.
I'm taking a quick break. I'm going to mint some right now. The gas fees are astronomical, and I'm almost out of Ethereum, but we're going to do a full send, guys, and send this straight to the universe. I am actually going to print something really funny. You're looking at it right now. It's a Cybertruck. I have a reservation within the first 8,000 orders, and I'd like to give it away to someone along with my dynamic auto art customization services. The design work of that aspect included. So I'll sit there and render out your matte black Cybertruck, your Sidel art Cybertruck, your Warhodl Cybertruck, your Faith Fetish Cybertruck, all of my favorite artists, Gunnar Magnus, Brian Lee. We can create insane raps, and we can all do it through this. But you're literally skipping the line essentially for a Cybertruck. I've got a single and a dual motor option. I don't have a tri-motor option, but it's within the first 8,000 orders. I figured out the URL before he went on stage because it was just, Tesla.com/Cybertruck. And I took a chance on that. That was actually right before I left for Miami too. That was like the last of the money that I had stowed away for that. So yeah, it's been listed right now. I just thought that was something nobody else was doing, something funny, something unique. I'm also going to be minting later on like a screenshot of the Access Photo Forum as it was in 2005, 2004, because I still have that on the back end. I just haven't figured out how to log into one area real quick. But all of the photographs that you're seeing that I'm minting today are going to be black and whites with the color version of it unlocked as an unlockable content. And in 90% of the cases, the color version of the photograph is like 100 times better than the black and white. I specifically chose photos that would get muted when you see them because I want the excitement of the collector when they figure out that they're the first person that's ever going to see what the color of this picture actually is. And then it's up to them if they want to share it later on, or maybe later in a future date, I'll post them on social media as a thank you. But nobody gets to see the actual color of the work naturally from the camera, not manipulated, except for the collector. I'm apologizing. Some of these things are they saying they're not for sale on your end? So that means I created them, but I haven't listed them right.
Right, but people could still bid, and you could accept the bid, I believe.
Okay, I'm trying to push everything through right now. It's weird because Foundation is asking me to spend gas on minting it and then also spend gas on listing it. So my first time dabbling with those guys, I hope I can connect with their team to figure that out, because that seems a little atrocious compared to, the other platforms out there. Right. But we'll figure that out. That's kind of why I wanted to do. You can kind of see it on my screen over here. It's a little blurred out, but I'm trying to push these through right now. Some of them there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that say they're still minting, and the other ones I have to list. So I'm going to go through and try and list them, but I think I'm stuck on those other transactions until they go through. The other ones won't. So,
and would you want our viewers to go to your Foundation homepage first, or Rarible as well?
Yeah, I just have a couple of quick things that are below 1 Ethereum on Rarible. They're a series of clouds from my Genesis. It's just multiple exposure images that reflect like what happened in my brain when I got sober. There's going to be other variations of that available as well, and they'll be on Rarible because I want to have that be like your entry point into the market. Everything on Foundation starts at 1 Ethereum, and I know that cuts out a big market segment. So I want to keep offering little things that still connect you to my story and my vision, so that everybody gets a chance to have a piece of this.
I'm glad to hear you say that because we often ask artists on their thoughts on the the economics and scarcity and some people are really disheartened when they see a drop from an artist that they want to support, they want to participate, but the lowest tier they have is in the thousands of dollars and it excludes part of the world, let alone people in that economic situation. So that's great that you would provide, hey, if you just want to be part of this and you want to support, here's something for you. But also, here are these other vehicles, and it's very inclusive, which is right on message for what you talk about.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of artists should start to do something like that. I made a silly suggestion to Paris Hilton on Clubhouse the other night, and I can't believe I'm saying that. Yeah, I can't believe if you told me that a year ago, I'd be like, what? What's going on? So I made her laugh, and then she followed me on Twitter, which proves that if you make a girl laugh, you can make her do anything. But what my suggestion to her was that she wanted to try and find a way to enter the space. It was just a casual conversation. I'm not releasing anything. This was just on Clubhouse. We were trying to decide what object of clothing that she could possibly auction off as an NFT to get millions of dollars off of it. And she suggested one of her bags or whatever. And I said, why don't we get a 3D scan so that it exists in the metaverse, capture all the texture, bitmap information, all that kind of stuff, so it's super, super accurate. Sell the bag for, whatever, just going to be a few $1,000,000, but then immediately burn it live as part of the transaction with like a Tesla flamethrower to show that the duality of the space you're entering into. And then after you sell that burnt bag for $1 million, go take it and cut it up into 100 pieces. Then go on Clubhouse and sell those 100 pieces for $1 each at a fixed price. You would immediately signal to everybody that you understand how this works. Right. And that the burning of something is just a reflection of what can happen to you if you push yourself hard enough, both positive and negative. And by giving everybody a piece of it at $1, you immediately line the pockets of your real supporters on Clubhouse that are trying to come up with creative ideas for you not to look like Lindsay Lohan. We all know happened that, right?
Right.
So she laughed and followed me on Twitter. So, hey guys, are you saying there's a chance?
I think so. If I see the flamethrower come out, I'm increasing the odds.
That'll be funny. Yeah, it went kind of viral a little bit on Clubhouse. I heard people talking about it the other day. I was like, oh wait, that's me. Whatever. But it doesn't matter. It's like, who cares? We can all be anonymous, and that's why ideas should be free. You look at the misinformation campaigns running against us. When you see Bitcoin in the news and they're telling you how to buy it, you should probably consider selling a little bit of your position. When it's in the news that it crashed and that you should sell, you should probably think about picking some up. We're literally living in the Matrix, guys. It's crazy. Now we have decentralized love, and I feel like 4 hours on Clubhouse is me being jacked into the whatever, learning Kung Fu. That's how quickly the space moves. I don't know if you guys really hang out on there much. I know I see Whale Shark pop in once in a while, but that's where it is. That and Discord. I mean, honestly, you can learn so much just by listening. Access Photo was revitalized and reborn because people were asking for it. People were asking for a platform. I'm like, wait a second. 3 weeks ago, wait a second. I've been sitting on this since 2003. It'll be 20 years in 2 years.
So, on a related note, your team that you post here on Access Photo, are these other collaborators that have kind of come about because of Clubhouse?
Yeah, absolutely. The entire team has been built off Clubhouse. There's, I believe, 8 or 10 more photographers, both female and male. It's all inclusive. We worked really hard on fleshing out the initial team. And yeah, these are all Clubhouse relationships. All these guys want to use the same thing I want to use. So why don't we just build it together? And we don't have to be funded. We don't have to wait for anything. We're working with Wax directly right now, potentially on the platform. We're kind of in the final stages of deciding which way we're going to go. But we're about 60 to 90 days at minimum. It could be more than that, releasing something. But I'm not too concerned about being first to market here because we're going to have copycats all over the place, which we already have coming into the groups, chilling their project. And I encourage healthy competition. As long as we're not bringing each other down, there's 100 different ways you can create a platform like this. Maybe you just wanted something that, boom, you mint your photo and it's there and everybody sees it. just like Instagram. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's great. There's going to be a market for that as well. Ours is going to be a little bit different, but the plans that we have in place, I think, cover all the different ranges of the market and solve a lot of the questions right out of the gate, and create a bridge between the photographer and the access to the photographer and the photography by the collector. Because this to me, this is all about relationships. This is all relationship building. This is all leadership, mentorship, relationship building. It's all the stuff you've ever read in the books. It's all the stuff you've ever dreamed about doing, but it's right there at your fingertips. All you have to do is be confident enough in yourself and believe in yourself enough in order to speak up. And then all you need is one person to listen to you. That's a following. One person is a following. If you can convince one person to follow you and listen to you and believe in you, and you can build them right back up, you can change the world. You can do anything.
Great perspective from someone living it right now. We're getting a lot of questions from the viewers asking if, when can they access it? Is the beta still ongoing and open to people? Should they sign up? Is this still targeted for Q2, Q3 this year?
Yeah, 60 to 90 days from earlier this week. So, well, we just have early access waitlist signups on the website. It's just an email form. We're going to do that first come, first serve, and we're also going to do invites for Clubhouse as well. We'll be doing giveaway rooms for invites where you can come up and show your photography, and then we might make you a judge. We might make you on the team or whatever. It's a very flexible platform, and we have a Discord that we started as well, which we have open access roundtables that we record, much like you guys do with a lot of your content. Everything kind of has a change log, and it's super legit. That's exactly what we're doing. We're doing minutes every meeting, so everybody's kept on the loop. So everyone's welcome to join that. I haven't posted it publicly yet, but I'll put it on my Clubhouse profile when the time comes. We got to create the roles and the little nitty gritty stuff so far, but
right. Yeah, no, definitely. Our community will be looking for you and looking for that in your profile so they can join. Normally I'd like to ask artists, depending on the medium that's their choice, NFTs provide a lot of opportunity for a whole different set of interactions versus traditional art. Without getting into the minutia, the smart contract allows different feedback and the art to change over time, which I think has some interesting applications when it comes to photography. Now, I don't know if you're there yet, but what are some things that you can envision or think would be cool in that regard? Because we've heard a lot from people about how this could be applied to traditional art that's created, but photography is kind of a new medium for me to conceptualize with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different possibilities. Like just on a manual level, I posted black and white pictures, and when you buy it, you unlock the color one. Okay, that's a very simple mechanic, right? But like I envision a world in which we use like the AR in our phones before we get to the glasses, which is going to destroy all of that anyway. But in the time being, like, what if you could, by taking a picture in a certain geotagged location fence area and minting that picture, it gave you access to all of the other pictures that were taken in that area. So like you go up to the Flatiron building in the city and you look at it with your phone and you can't see anybody else's pictures around you, but as soon as you take a picture and mint it or interact with it, it unlocks everybody else's photos around you. So as you're walking through around the Flatiron building, you can go through the photographs in like seasons and different weather and different people and different types of cameras and different types of lighting and all that stuff. Like just walking through and all of the images populating in front of each other like a stack as their geotags come up with their precise metadata of where that photograph was taken and what the accelerometer was reading and where they were pointing the camera at. What if you could just walk around the world and see everybody else's pictures all around you when there's a situation, when there's like a monument or whatever? And then what if you could make a monument out of a place just because you went and took a picture there and somebody else decided to take a picture with you? And it becomes a monument because people are taking pictures there. And it could be just a beautiful tree in the middle of nowhere, kind of like Pokemon Go, got us to go out to libraries and post offices and stuff, because they use a national registry of those things to set up their architecture for parts of their gamification system. We could do the same thing, and you could build reward systems around that and do all that stuff. And I think that doesn't really have too much to do with Access Photo's current model of what we're building, but I'd love to explore it, and that's just something I thought of right now. So I think the limits are endless.
Right.
It's just let's bounce ideas off each other. Like, what do you think? What are your thoughts in the space? Do you envision like another Pokemon Go that's based on NFTs and AR? Like I do.
Yeah, certainly, and maybe even they could take it a step further with some VR capabilities, right? There could be some depth that could be added, and like you said, when you had the glasses, there may be an opportunity to kind of immerse yourself in the photography, or have similar to some of the calls I've seen where they look at prices or weather or whatever. There could be something that's a metric that could dictate the thematic, right? It could change from something that's somber to something that's celebratory, and that picture changes on its own based on that. So there's so many cool applications that when I really start going, the smoke starts coming out of my ears, especially that, now there's integrated media NFTs, right? There's people that are pairing their photography with audio with a musician that they know. And so the way that they can play off of each other is just, we're really in the sandbox, and that's part of what's exciting between the community, the possibilities, and just where we are. We're at just the precipice.
Yeah, it's the first inning. Absolutely.
Right.
It's the first inning. The people thinking they're late. No way.
Right.
Nah, we're just getting started. But we will see some form of a crash or negative situation at some point in the future. It's just the way it works. It goes up, goes down, comes back up. You got to ride the wave, and you got to commit to the platforms that are actually going to have your back.
Right. And this is just a personal opinion, but I think we have to ride the wave of inevitably we're going to see people rushing to the space and trying to just throw up something they call an NFT that really doesn't have the same intrinsic value as something that you do with such purpose. There's going to be some people that just throw something together as a money grab. And, there's been some discussion about recent drops by major celebrities that people have thought are to that effect. So we have to weather the storm a little bit, because I'm sure there's going to be some discussion about true value, but the innovative thinking, the stuff with purpose that we're talking about and you're trying to drive with your projects are what's going to keep the fuel in the engines for this thing to continue to climb and grow. But you're right. We have to weather some of this bumpy road at the initial part.
Yeah, and I 100% appreciate the praise, but the community is built up of other people exactly like me too. You can go look at Eric, and you can go look at Zen, and you could look at even Jan Silva and Dave Krugman and Alexander and Cas Vegas. All of these guys, all the ones you see in the moderating group, they all have their own side projects too. They're all trying to build something that they could be a part of from the ground up. It's expanding into so many different directions, from displays to new artists for artist trading platforms that aren't out yet. Like, everybody's kind of coming up with something on their own, and now we have access, much like people have access to go on stage and sell their art to a collector directly on Clubhouse, which happens all the time, all day long. We have that same access of connecting with collaborators that are better than us in the fields that we lack in, right? So I want to hire the photographers that are better than me in everything that they do. I want to hire the best blockchain developers that understand everything much more than I do, and Clubhouse is a network for that. It's literally it's the social media we've always dreamed about, and the people that complain about the application, and I want to praise Clubhouse once again if they ever listen to this, is people hate the design kind of, because there's no dark mode and you can't see who's talking or whatever, like the new Twitter feature. Clubhouse does that all intentionally. They've deprived you of your stimulation, of your senses that don't need to be there. All you need to see is a profile picture and hear somebody's voice. And because you can't see it, you're going to scroll to go look for it. By doing that action of scrolling, you are much more likely to click on the profile because you've already done some work. You're already invested. By clicking on the profile, you're going to click on it again to expand it. And by then, you're so committed, of course you're going to go to that person's Twitter or Instagram. And by then, you might as well follow them if you think you like what they're saying. An application like Twitter, where it's flashing somebody's name when they're talking, creates zero engagement. That's why Clubhouse is absolutely brilliant, and I hope they keep it that way. But they need to give moderators, such as yourself, if you're in any of those rooms, they need to give us access to logs, because weird stuff is happening. People are getting moved into the audience. There's rifts being created, and we just don't have access to the tools. But I know they're coming. So, but what a time to be alive, honestly.
Yeah, no, 100%, and not to discredit any other artists, but certainly highlighting the work that you're doing here. The space is so collaborative, and it's beautiful. You know, the vehicle, the social media of choice that you'll find most NFT artists is Twitter, and that's kind of a byproduct of the way the community evolved over time, and having that consistent, constant, close communication on that platform. So it's divergent a little bit from, you know, the traditional crypto sphere and things of that nature, because of the community, and everyone is really uplifting and trying to help each other, and that's part of the beauty of it. And perhaps part of it's intrinsically because of art, you know, and artists being what comprise the majority of the community at the onset, but it continues to be that way even at record setting, you know, financials being thrown around and everything else. You can go on Clubhouse, you can come to the Whale community, you can go to Token Smart, all these other places, and you'll be rubbing shoulders with some of the biggest, most established artists in the field, making millions of dollars, willing to help you, give you advice on, you know, the most minute things. So we are definitely blessed to have been enabled by the technology and the timing to do this.
Absolutely, and a testament to that is you guys should see some of the inner workings. The messages that I get are just incredible. Now I have artists reaching out to me trying to figure out how to get consulting about NFTs, and I just do quick phone calls with them. All of my artwork, by the way, includes a one-on-one hour call with me, video call, redeemable up until March 10th, 2025. So whatever it is that you want to talk about, whether it's NFTs or whatever, it's a free call. No questions asked. We can shoot the shit. We can talk whatever. Foundation is showing me that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 still minting in progress, and there's nothing I can do. So much for my live drop that I was so worried about and lost sleep over. But you know, things will show up throughout the day and throughout the next few days that you guys can participate in. So stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Yeah, and we're getting a lot of comments that people are eagerly anticipating. So I know our community will keep it and keep refreshing throughout the afternoon. Thank you so much for taking an hour and a half of your time today. We definitely were moved by your story and want to be a part of your continued journey. And also thank you for advocating for the different communities that have just been empowering artists and putting that power and control back into the artist's hands, and taking it away from the labels and the publishers that were kind of the gatekeepers of art. I see that you mentioned, you know, on some of your material that your lifelong purpose is to inspire and to create from the heart, to dream beyond their imagination, and get people to believe in themselves. And I will tell you, after hearing you today, you're accomplishing that goal. So thank you again so much for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you, man. Thank you for the opportunity, for just the chance to speak on these subjects. I wish you guys the best of luck, and I'll be tuning into all the other stuff you guys do, and maybe we could do a little recap in 6 months and see where we're all at, you know?
Definitely. We'd love to have you back on, and, you know, we could do a project showcase on the app when it launches, and I'm sure you'll have other creative NFT projects in the works. So again, thank you so much, and we will see more of you soon, I am sure. Thank you, Alexander.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Take care.